All right, let's dive in. We're going on a journey, and I mean a long one, 2,000 years, to get to the truth about one of nature's most misunderstood creatures. We're going to peel back layers of myth, magic, and some serious scientific mystery to reveal the incredible reality of the chameleon.
So get this one sentence from way back in the 1st century by the Roman poet Ovid, it pretty much sets up two huge myths that have stuck around for millennia. First, the chameleons just live on air, and second, that they change color to match whatever's around them. As you're about to see, both ideas are brilliantly, wonderfully wrong.
So, to really get why these myths stuck around for so long, we've got to go way back, right back to the beginning, to the first great naturalists of the ancient world. They were just trying to figure out this bizarre, amazing animal with the tools they had at the time.
You know, Aristotle was an absolutely brilliant observer. But what's so fascinating here is how he was both right and, well, really wrong. He nailed the slow tortoise-like movement, those crazy grasping feet, and of course, those incredible eyes that move on their own. But then he claimed they just live on air and have almost no blood, and that they change color by basically inflating themselves. I mean, these weren't just wild guesses. This was the first real attempt to figure out this creature, and it kicked off a puzzle that would take centuries to solve.
And from there, things got even weirder. Over the next few hundred years, these early, sorta scientific observations just spiraled into pure magic. You had authors like Pliny the Elder repeating and, let's be honest, probably embellishing these stories. The chameleon stopped being just an animal and became this creature with some serious supernatural street cred.
So, what kind of powers are we talking about? Well, for starters, ancient writers claimed they could control the weather. Yep, forget meteorology. If you wanted to change the weather,
all you had to do was burn its head and throat with some oak wood. Simple as that. Now, it sounds completely wild to us, but for centuries, this was written down as fact.
And it didn't stop with weather control. Oh no. Another myth, supposedly from the philosopher Democritus, offered the power of invisibility. Which, kind of makes sense given the whole color-changing thing.
And the recipe? Just roast its left foot into an ointment. Seriously. These incredible stories ended up in medieval bestiaries, those old books of beasts, and were treated as gospel for more than 1,000 years.
Okay, so fast forward to the 1600s, the age of reason. It took until then for someone to finally stand up and challenge all this folklore. And not with more magic, but with something way more powerful. Simple logic.
and that someone was the scholar Sir Thomas Browne. He kicked off his investigation with a question that is so simple, it's brilliant. He just looked at the chameleon's body and said, wait a second, how can an animal with a stomach live only on air? It just didn't make sense.
And he just broke it down piece by piece. First, he was like, look, nature doesn't give an animal a full digestive system just for decoration. Anatomy is destiny, right? Second, that insane projectile tongue, that's a bug zapper, not an air taster. And finally, the nail in the coffin. He pointed to actual dissections where people had cut open chameleons and found flies and beetles in their bellies. The proof was right there. And just like that, with clear, solid reasoning, centuries of myth just crumbled.
All right, so the diet myth is busted. But what about the really big one, the color change? Because it turns out the whole reason they do it isn't to hide. The real story is so much cooler.
Here's the big takeaway. It's not about camouflage. It's about communication. Evolution didn't give them this incredible ability to blend in and be invisible. It gave it to them to stand out, to be more visible to each other. It's literally a language written on their skin.
So how did they do it? The secret isn't pigment, like in an octopus. No, it's way more high-tech. They have a layer of special skin cells called iridophores, and inside these cells are teeny tiny little crystals. Now get this. When a chameleon wants to change color, it actually flexes or relaxes its skin, which changes the spacing between these crystals. If the crystals are packed tight, they reflect blue light. If they're spread out, they reflect red or yellow. It's this incredible, living crystal lattice. Talk about structural color.
So a chameleon's skin is basically a living billboard, broadcasting everything that's going on. A male might flash some bright, aggressive colors to tell a rival to back off, or show off some vivid patterns to attract a female. They'll even go dark to soak up more heat from the sun, or turn pale to cool down. It's a real-time status update on their mood, their health, and their intentions.
And if that wasn't amazing enough, there's another layer. Deeper down, there's a second set of these iridophore cells, but this one is designed to reflect infrared light. It's essentially a built-in passive heat shield to protect them from the sun's radiation. Just brilliant.
Okay, so that brings us to our final mystery, and it takes us right back to their most famous, most captivating feature, those unbelievable wandering eyes. I mean, for 2,000 years, ever since Aristotle first wrote about them, we've been obsessed with how their eyes work. How on earth can they look in two completely different directions at the same time, with that kind of incredible range of motion?
And for centuries, the greatest minds on the planet, we're talking Aristotle, even Isaac Newton, could only guess. They could see the eyes moving independently, sure, but the delicate bits and pieces behind the eyeball? Dissecting them was pretty much impossible. The actual mechanism was a total mystery.
But then came modern technology. Thanks to CT scanning, a very recent discovery finally cracked a puzzle that stumped scientists for millennia.
It turns out they have something no other lizard has, a coiled optic nerve. Literally, think of an old-school curly telephone cord. This coiled structure gives the nerve a ton of extra slack, which allows the eye to swivel and rotate through that insane range of motion without stretching, straining, or damaging the connection to the brain. It's such a simple, elegant, and totally unique evolutionary solution. You know, this one discovery just proves that no matter how long we study something, the natural world always has another surprise up its sleeve. We went from thinking this was an animal that lived on air to finding out it has telephone cords in its skull. The chameleon is the perfect reminder that the truth is often so much stranger and way more wonderful than any myth we could ever dream up. And it makes you wonder, right? What other long-held facts are out there, just waiting for the next breakthrough to come along and show us what's really going on?